We did invite the Maine Crafts Association to join us for a few minutes before we have an open discussion. And they have partnered with us in the past to talk about Maine Crafts Weekend, which is a fall event and a great opportunity to engage our downtowns in really bringing craft alive in their communities. It's such a logical event possibility. So I'm going to turn it over to Simone and Sadie, who are going to kind of remind us what the program is, or for those of you that don't know about it. And then you can think about whether it is something you'd like to participate in. We see the very obvious connection between our downtowns and Maine Craft Weekend. So they are going to have the floor for like 10 or 15 minutes and time for questions. And then we will let them head on their way because they have another meeting this morning, and we will have our open discussion. And good morning, Zach from Belfast. Okay, Simone and Sadie, take it away.
Thanks, Anne. So I'm Sadie. I'm the Executive Director of the Maine Crafts Association, and Simone Feeney is here. She is one of our program managers and responsible for a lot to do with Maine Craft Weekend, specifically our the featured city component of it. So generally, the Maine Crafts Association supports craft artists throughout the state through retail, marketing, and educational programming. One of our programs is Maine Craft Weekend, which is a statewide studio tour, which came about with a pilot program in 2013, kind of at the request or interest and support from the Maine Office of Tourism. And we took it on and have been growing it and tweaking it and ever since. So it went from a one-day event to a two-day event. It takes place during American Craft Week, so we're under that umbrella as well. And now we've sort of slowly been building this featured city component. And it's kind of a logical component for a number of reasons, but one of them is that although we like the idea of folks traveling around the state to tiny little studios at the ends of dirt roads, and we promote that, we typically have found that clumps of events cross-pollinate more and do better. So we are kind of trying to follow that logic and that trend and help create those hubs of activity, which are essentially these featured cities. So basically, we have a website. We have all the events on the website. We promote the overall event. We promote the featured cities, and we use our marketing to try to get people, visitors from Maine and away, to go to the website and find activities and events to do, kind of plan their route for the weekend, and then go to the individual events. So Maine Craft Association does usually offer, we do something special in our stores or something. Sometimes we'll coordinate an event to happen that weekend, but we're not, by the time the weekend comes, it's really up to all the like hundreds of sites around the state. So I'm here today to basically explain and pitch to the different Main Street communities. And you don't have to be a Main Street community, but you guys are a logical bunch because you have staff and more organization. To join us as a featured city, which is you make a commitment, you pay, and we help you along the way. So let me just, I'm gonna switch my screen so I can go look at a couple notes just to make sure I don't forget anything.
Can everyone see the images that are up? Yes, okay.
Yep.
So over the years, we've been having featured cities for a few years. We got built this partnership with Anne kind of in a pilot way in 2019 towards trying to get funding for 2020, which of course, you know, we kind of are just jumping over 2020. Now it's 2021, and we're back at it. So in 2019, we had 5 featured cities. Ellsworth was one of them. I just saw Cara hop on here, and they've done it for a number of years. We've had Waterville, Gardner, Hallowell, Belfast, Bucksport, and we have a few cities committed already for this year: Ellsworth, Freeport, Bucksport. Anyone I'm forgetting, Simone?
We're talking with Amanda at Main Street Bath right now as well.
So I'll just get a little basically into kind of the nitty gritty of it. There's the basic package. You pay $500, and then in exchange for that, you get a featured city page on our website on the Maine Craft Weekend website that lists all your events. Your events are also mixed into the other ways that we list them. So it would pop up in any search that someone does, but it also is like collected on the one page. Anyone within your city can register for free. We're typically, if someone's not affiliated with Maine Made or Maine Crafts Association, they would pay $25. So anybody under your umbrella is free. You get 10 yard signs, and those are, like political type signs to mark the events. You or the individuals can purchase more. In a downtown scenario, you might not need many more because people can just see them. In like the rural setting, a lot of people might buy like 4 of them to like direct someone along the way. You get a dedicated email blast and lots of dedicated support on our social media. And then you're also included as a sponsor of Maine Craft Weekend as a whole. So you get that's like kind of another set of benefits, but you can probably imagine what they are. Your logo kind of goes everywhere with all of our marketing. So you're a featured city and a sponsor. And that's like the kind of the general package. And then that also includes like us helping you along. We give you kind of a list of to-dos, a list of deadlines. We collect everything from you and keep you going throughout the process. Then there's 2 add-ons this year. One we've always had, and most featured cities do this, pay an additional $500 to be in a big Down East magazine ad spread that's shared with all the other featured cities. So I'm not looking at the screen, but Simone's probably showing you that right now. So that was the ad from 2019. So you get, a good amount of text and some, you can decide what kind of photos you want to use, etc.
Yeah, and it looks like Belfast, Bucksport, Ellsworth, and Hallowell did participate in that ad last year.
Yeah,
so,
okay. I think every city that was a featured city opted into the ad. The only tricky part with that is that just the deadline's coming up. So you would need to decide and basically commit by June 30th. So we have a rolling deadline to become a featured city, but the later on in the process that you become a featured city, the more advertising benefits you might miss out on. So, and you probably want to commit pretty soon so you can get going on your own planning. Essentially, we recommend, having a goal in your first year to have 10 events in your downtown. That might be a big goal. Even 5 would be pretty good, especially if there's, a couple within sight of each other. And just a little bit on that is that you don't have to have all specifically, you don't have to be trying to think of like I don't have 10 craft artists downtown. It can be any kind of business and they do a craft event. So lots of times they're at a brewery, they're at, could be a restaurant or a different kind of shop or a library or anything. And you just partner with craft artists or some kind of craft element. So we can help you kind of think that through and give you examples. Our new add-on this year is with Makers of Maine, which is a new but fast-growing podcast in Maine. It's a business, and it's a woman who's an excellent publicist and social media master. And she has started this podcast interviewing makers all over Maine. So we've partnered with her so that, and she helped us with a series of podcasts last year that was sort of a podcast Maine Craft Weekend during 2020. So there's two options, and I won't go too into detail, but basically one's sort of like a single podcast and one's a series of podcasts. One's $500, one's $1,000 that you could add on to your featured city package. I've requested funding from the Maine Office of Tourism that would pay for the smaller package for the first 8 featured cities. So I'll let Ann know if I get that, and she can push that out to you guys, because that'll be awesome if that happens. I hope to know that in the next couple weeks. So I think I'm going to stop talking and see if there's any questions. The main deadline I wanted to mention was that June 30th, to make sure that if you were interested and you were interested in the Down East ad, that you knew that would be your deadline. After that, would be working towards some other deadlines, mostly in June and July, to get all your listings, and you'd be working with Simone on that.
Great, thanks, Sadie.
Yeah.
Anybody who participated last year, Zach or Cara, Melissa, want to talk about either your experience last year or questions about thinking about it this year? And then one question, Sadie, the podcast, the downtown organizations could offer that option to an individual crafter. They would not necessarily have to, if it was about the $500 individual podcast, they could, a crafter could take advantage of that, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
One other little thing is that sometimes people have, the one I forgot to mention that just signed on is Freeport. So Freeport is doing this, like other folks have done it in the past, to mostly promote one event. So they've got their Freeport Fall Festival that weekend. And they'll probably add on some other things, but to them, that's gonna be their focus. Hallowell did that when they were doing the Luthier Festival,
right,
where they really are focused on one thing. So that's kind of a way to think about it too. If you have something happening that week that's
Absolutely.
big, or you are considering when something's gonna happen that's sort of related, you could line those up. Absolutely.
And this is the time of year that our downtowns often have events. So you're absolutely right. It's a great opportunity for that. Questions? I'm monitoring the chat, or take yourself off mute. Or just want to ponder. Simone, do you want to put the link in the chat so people can go get that information?
Absolutely. And I'm more than happy to send anything along to anyone at any time.
Thank you.
Chat.
Yeah, it's a pretty logical, easy lift, I think, for, like Sadie was saying, with existing programming, or maybe your transformation strategy is already focusing on the arts, or for those of you that were in our market analysis workshop yesterday, what did we hear Matt talking about so much about those experiential kind of downtown experiences? That sounds repetitive. But the brew, I love the idea that Sadie put out of like having a demonstration or something going on in a brewery. I mean, that's awesome. That is celebrating Maine Craft Weekend.